Hi, Solveig.
Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
Great. How about you?
Good. I'm not used to being on here without a filter. It's like, oh, but I can still put them on. Look at that. Let's do it. Cool. So we are here to chat about first-time sellers. I'm Solveig from the Husky Homes team. You can find me at my account at the one, the only Solveig. And Emily.
I'm Emily Lusinger from Husky Homes. I am live from the Husky Homes Instagram, but if you'd like to follow me individually, Emily O. Lusinger.
Oh, I'm adjusting. So we have a bunch of different things we're going to talk about, but it's all about first-time sellers. And we are here to answer your questions. So we definitely encourage you to drop comments for us to respond to. But we are going to talk about some kind of the first questions that we get from people who are thinking about making a move and they're not sure about selling in this market and buying at the same time because they've only ever been on the buy side before. Right?
Yep, been there. Haven't.
So Emily is actually one of these people too. So we're going to talk through her her situation too. How long ago did you buy your house, Emily?
In 2018. So we've been in the home 3 years.
3 years. Cool. And that's an important thing to note because if you have been in your home for less than 2 years, you do have to pay capital gains taxes on any gains that you make in the sale. So Emily, you don't have to worry about that.
Love hearing the good news.
Right. So one of the first questions we get is how can I do this financially? And I know, Emily, you brought this up too as something that you've been thinking about. So so talk about like the things that you've been thinking about first. And
Yeah, I'm super lucky to have this network of real estate gals and lenders we work closely with because I always thought it was kind of pie in the sky. How could I sell my house and get an offer accepted on a different house? But it turns out it's really common to sell one house and buy another one. And there's plenty of ways to do it, leveraging the existing equity you have in your house. That doesn't mean you have to write an offer with a home sale contingency. I know that's going to be like a real scary word for a lot of people on this call.
yeah, and we drop phrases like that all the time because we are so used to them. But what that means is that you need to sell your house as a condition of buying another house. So when you write an offer on a house that you're going to buy, you are saying to that seller, I want to buy your house, but I have to be able to sell this house during this transaction. It's not very common in this market to have to do that, mostly because it's difficult to do that, but it totally depends on the house that you're selling and the house that you're buying. Because we really look at mini markets that are out there. Like a specific neighborhood, a certain price point might be super competitive, and another neighborhood, it's a totally different price point. So don't make that assumption. But that would be the first financial way to do it. And the most traditional way in a typical market would be to place an offer on a house and then make it subject to you selling your house. But there are plenty of other options. Emily, let's see. Do you want to talk about the HELOC?
Yeah,
Fancy word.
So talk to me. So I know that I chatted with my lender and he was really confident that I'd be able to write an offer without having to put that unattractive home sale contingency in there using the equity that was developed over the last 3 years in the house. So I guess there's multiple ways you can use that equity, right? You can just pull out a straight HELOC, which I actually did earlier this year to do some renovations in our house. And at first you're like, what do you mean you're just going to give me a checkbook based on the equity in my house? You can like go on a vacation if you really wanted to, but best use would be to make an improvement to your existing house or use that lump sum of money that a bank will get you based on equity in your house as a down payment for your next house. And then it's usually a really low interest rate, and it's only on the balance that you use. So that's actually a really important thing to know about a home equity line of credit called a HELOC. If you get a HELOC for $40,000, you only pay interest on what you've actually used out of that $40,000.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a really cool thing because I think statistically most Americans' wealth is in their property, is in their primary residence. And with how much your home has been appreciating over the past couple years, you might not even be aware of how much equity you have in your house. And what that means is, you know, when you bought your house, you put a certain amount of money down. So let's say you put 20% down. You would have 20% equity to draw on. And if you know, over time, as you pay down your loan balance, and your house appreciates, you have more than 20% to draw on because, you know, homes the past couple of years have appreciated at least 6% in the area in general. And I'm not going to do rough math in my head, but you're definitely going to have, let's say you have like, you go up from, you know, you've paid down a little bit and you have that much appreciation over your 3 years. You might have gone from having a loan for 70% of 80% of your equity to 70%. Mm-hmm. So, you know, let's say a home is worth $400,000. Then we're talking about $80,000 of equity up to 110. I don't know, just more. Mm-hmm. So that 110, that balance that you have in the house, so it's your home value minus your loan, that's how much you can draw on from the bank. And you can't draw the full amount because they're not going to say, okay, now we're 100% invested in your house. But you can take out pieces of that, and the most responsible way to use that, as Emily said, is to improve things in your house that get you the best return on investment, like
kitchens and bathrooms. Which are also the most fun to have remodeled too.
Right. Yep. And or using that equity to buy another house, because it's easier to pull that off usually than trying to borrow against your retirement accounts or draw from your retirement accounts and pay it back, because you have to do it in a certain amount of time. Yep. So that's HELOC.
Yeah. The other one that I hear a lot of players mention is a bridge loan mortgage. Mm-hmm. But I think just chatting through kind of what that means when someone says, oh, just get a bridge loan.
Right. So this time, instead of pulling money out of your house, you are adding on an extra loan that you're going to be paying. So a lender is going to look at what your income is, what other debts you have, and see if you can support having basically a second mortgage for a little while and being able to use that loan amount as your down payment on the next house. So it's not pulling money out of your house, it's adding on another loan to be able to buy the next house.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And in this market, it's not so risky. So one of the caveats with a loan is that the interest rate can be pretty competitive for a short amount of time. But once you get past, I think it's maybe 6 months, those mm-hmm. interest rates tend to jump up. So most homes are selling well within that 6 months. But if you do have a home that would be a really unique property that would be harder to sell, that could be a downside to using one of those bridge loans. But otherwise, for most homes in these little micro markets that we're talking about, you'd have no problem getting closed under 6 months, but you still have a really low interest rate.
Right. Yeah, and we'll talk about timelines too. But yeah, so those are the really, you know, the most simple options. Well, I guess they're not simple. They're a little complicated to understand, but those are the easiest and most comfortable ways for you to be able to move and deal with that double move and double sale and purchase at the same time, so that it's not at the same time. Like Emily said, you can extend out that period between purchasing the house. You've got either that bridge loan or you're paying for that HELOC, the interest on that, and then taking your time to be able to sell your house that you're in now, and then move into that next house when that house sells, and then pay off the HELOC or the bridge loan at that time. Those are things that you really need to have really good credit and a really good income to debt ratio, or a lot of equity in your house to be able to support those additional payments. But there are other options if you don't have that to be able to buy without having to sell first. One of those is getting a cosigner. So if you are not eligible on your own because of, however much money is in your house and however much money you make, or maybe, you've had an income change in your family, you can always add on another signer to the loan when you purchase. So you can get another person, usually a family member, a parent or somebody, who doesn't have as much debt, the different stage of life, and that their income or their assets are supporting your purchase amount. So that can be a really good backup plan, or just plan in general to be able to get you to a purchase and then selling your house after the purchase.
This is actually doubly applicable for me too. As soon as I made the move from a W-2 employee at Epic to real estate, I saw all these really awesome houses. I was like, all right, I'm going to sell my house, buy a new house, maybe buy a duplex as an investment property. Drove poor Craig crazy. But my mom was willing to be a cosigner when we were to make that jump, because going from a W-2 employee to a 1099 self-employed contractor, my income doesn't count for a mortgage lender. So if you've made a job change recently where you wouldn't be able to get that income, or if you're a commission-based individual without 2 years of commission history to show, you might want to look at getting a cosigner. But yeah, pretty straightforward. And then you just refinance and take them off the loan down the road when either your existing mortgage is off, or you have 2 years of substantiated commission.
Right. Yeah, and the other thing, like we have a current client right now that we've been talking about this option with, just because they don't qualify to get a HELOC or a bridge loan. So we've talked to them about the possibility of getting the cosigner to be able to get under contract on these competitive homes in the marketplace, and then having a long enough escrow period, assuming the seller is going to be permitting that, to be able to then list their home right away and get it under contract within that period, and be able to, if there's enough time, it can be tricky, but that's why you have a realtor and a lender and all these people helping you along the way, to be able to take that cosigner off once your house is sold, if you're able to get the house sold within that period before you close on the next house. And that way you can avoid having to do the refi where you are basically doing another closing and you're having additional closing costs to remove that person later. So, if we can work it out within the timeline of the house that you want to buy, that can be a really great option to not have to deal with the home sale contingency.
Yeah. So let's talk about some of our more risk-averse buyers, or buyers who may not have 20% equity in their homes to pursue some of these options. There are ways that it can work out well to do the opposite, to list your house first. In this market, sellers actually have a fair amount of power over the closing date. We as buyer's agents, one of the things that we do is we reach out to the listing agents to try to make our offer as attractive as possible and say, what is our ideal closing date? How can we make this attractive to the list agent and to the seller? So if you are looking to sell first, it is acceptable to say that you want a longer close, maybe 60-day close, or even ask for post-occupancy. We just had a really successful transaction getting a client exactly that. What was it, 6 weeks post-occupancy?
Yep.
To give her time to close on her next home. So there are ways to do it, either buy and then sell, or sell first and do a long close and really hit the ground running to get your search underway once your home is under contract, or to get your home under contract and ask for post-occupancy to give yourself enough time to find something else, your next home.
Yeah, and that hadn't been a very common thing in a balanced market, but it's been super common with how competitive certain markets in our area have been for homes. where sellers can ask for that and buyers are willing to give it to the sellers to be able to get the house. So especially, you know, when you're in a price point or a home where you know you're going to get multiple offers right away, which isn't every single situation, no matter what you hear out there. We put it right in the broker remarks that the other buyer's agents can see that the seller wants, you can do up to 60 days post-closing occupancy. So that means you close on December 1st and you can stay in your house rent-free, typically because of the competitiveness, until February 1st and then move out then. So then you can time your purchase so that you are closing within that period and then you have additional time to move. You don't have to like put all your stuff in a pod the day before the final walkthrough and then sleep on somebody's couch for 2 days and move. You don't have to do that.
What is the August 15th lease turnover?
Right. Yep. Happy Christmas.
Yep.
So another option would be to pull from retirement accounts temporarily. This is something we talked to about buyers with
401k.
Yeah, with their 401ks and just like with an air of caution, because there have been some buyers in this market that will get accepted offers that are cash offers because they're using retirement accounts as proof of funds and then going ahead and financing the purchase anyway. You do have a risk with that of you know, if for some reason you lose your job or something, you don't have that financing contingency in your offer, so you still have to close and pull the funds out of your 401ks to do this. However, when you know that you're going to be listing a home and you're going to be, you know, putting that money back in, you could use those funds temporarily, and you have to check with your financial advisor and get them. As long as the funds are back in the account within a certain amount of time, you don't pay that prepayment penalty that the IRS would charge you if you're trying to pull your funds out sooner than you should. So you have to double check the time frame for that, but we did have a buyer seller do that this summer to be able to write a cash offer on the home they purchased. They listed their home that following week and then they closed within the required time frame, and so they put the money back in their account when they were done. So lots of different options financially.
Yeah, so I think we've covered the financial part, and that's definitely the biggest question. And that has, you know, without knowing the options, that was a bit of a non-starter for me. Like, how could I come up with another down payment? You know, did it once, how do I do that again? And then realizing that I could unlock the equity in my house to get my next down payment ready to go. So yeah, there's a lot of options. I would say pick a lender. We're happy to give you some suggestions of lenders that we love, you know, talking through scenarios with, and they can really help you brainstorm and find the solution that you're most comfortable with. So that's financing. It is possible. It's not as scary as it sounds. Mm-hmm. Let's talk like renovations, checklists. What should I do if I have a hankering that I might want to sell and upgrade?
Yeah, so you want to talk about renovations first?
Yeah.
So it totally depends, again, on your home in particular and your neighborhood and your area. But generally, talk to a realtor before you start doing any renovations on your home if you think you're going to be selling within the next year or so.
Yeah.
You might assume that certain renovations are going to net you more money at the sale or that you're going to get all that money back. It's not necessarily the case.
Yeah, a good example of that is oftentimes below grade square footage.
Mm-hmm.
Will think, oh, I'll finish the basement and that'll really contribute to the value of my house. And unfortunately, appraisers just don't value below grade square footage the way that they value above grade square footage. The materials cost all the same. That flooring isn't any below grade, but it may drive up competition because we all love a great finished rec room or rumpus, if you will, downstairs. But oftentimes the ROI is very strong on the below grade improvements.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and it totally depends on when you're thinking of selling. Because if it's something that you want to take advantage of, and you're going to be there for 5 more years, and then you think you're going to sell when the kids go to college or whatever, then it might be worth it. And you're not going to get that full money back that you put in, but you're going to get the enjoyment out of it, and you're going to get the additional square footage that will be calculated at a lower rate, as Emily said. The best way to really evaluate if certain updates or renovations are going to get you X amount of dollars in your sale is to have your realtor run comparable sales in the area that you live in and compare sales of properties that have the updates and have the renovations to those that don't. Because we can look at the price per square foot of homes that had updated kitchens in that specific area where an appraiser is going to look, and homes that didn't. And also look at, did those homes get competing offers where other ones didn't? Because in that situation, buyers might drop other contingencies. So that could help you out too. And you also want to look at the types of updating that you're doing to those kitchens and baths, and looking at, maybe I don't pick this specific countertop because I love it so much and it's marble, or it's like this crazy funky granite and I love the swirls and the colors. You want to look at updating it to meet the lowest common denominator of the buyers out there, the thing that's going to appeal to the most people in the marketplace. Mm-hmm. And which is another thing that talking to your realtor can help with, because we are out there seeing homes with buyers and seeing what buyers are saying about certain things and certain ways that things are done in those homes. So would you say there's like a specific ROI that people can get, Emily, or would like for certain areas?
Kitchens and bathrooms definitely the highest. I think the statistics are that you get the 90% of your investment back when you invest in kitchens and bathrooms. So those are definitely the highest value places. We do see some sellers offer credit, but there's something so exciting about walking into a beautiful kitchen or a really nice bathroom. It's hard to get that same emotional investment when someone says, I'll give you $dollars to get nice.
And there's a difference between improving and maintenance. Mm-hmm. So like you might think of replacing carpets that are 20 years old as an improvement, but a buyer sees it as maintenance, just something necessary. It's also going to help your home sell faster if you have that updated. And it's going to turn buyers away if you don't have it updated. But those are all things that we can talk about, and how you price your home based on the carpet that's there versus pricing it with new carpet. So it's not just doing like a major home remodel. It's looking at kind of the specific situation of your house and what things could be done to improve its priceability.
Yeah.
What is that word? Priceability.
The sale of a home is based on location, condition, and price. It's just the perfect intersection of those three items, two of which you can control, one of which is harder to change. To make sure
I haven't moved any houses in my time yet.
To make sure it's really enticing to buyers.
Yeah. We also talk a lot about pre-packing.
Oh no, I think we're having some internet challenges. So pre-packing is the idea that we have a lot more stuff in our houses than we need. Homes are much more digestible. It's easier to walk into a home and see yourself in that house if the potential buyer, isn't touring the house and seeing a lot of your personal items. It also makes moving day go a lot smoother if you've already taken the time to donate old clothes to the Goodwill, to clear out items that you don't need anymore, make those donations, make those garbage day pickups well in advance. So it makes your home appear bigger and more spacious when you do reduce your personal possessions in the space, and then it makes moving out that much faster too. So pre-cleaning or pre-packing is our number one step. If you think you might be looking to sell, start now. You'll enjoy it. Just like Solveig said about the renovations, do them early, take advantage of it for yourself. But you'll also enjoy having a nice cleaned out house too. So it looks like Solveig had a little bit of internet issues, but I think that was what we wanted to cover for our first chat about selling. In summary, there's a lot of different options to make it financially viable to buy a new home while you have an existing home, either leveraging the equity in your house or playing with those timelines. Well, as a seller, you have a lot of power to dictate the closing date and terms. And then steps to think about if you think you want to sell, pre-pack. Oh, Solveig's back. Let's get her back in here. And then pre-packing. So, hi, Solveig. I just wrapped up what we wanted to talk through, which was the financial routes, the options available to you to make that second home purchase, and then just recapping steps once you decide you do want to go forward with the process, what you can do to get ready with the pre-packing, and then talking to your realtor to decide which updates would be most impactful for your home's value. So I think that's probably what we wanted to talk through. I know we had a question come in. Did we already address it, or do we need to cover more questions?
I don't want to get out of Instagram again because that's what I tried to do last time. So a question that had sent in, and I was like, oh, it booted me out of the live video. So
okay, well now
technology. But yeah, I mean, there are so many other different things that we can talk about. I know we have some people watching. I saw Mike joined us. Hi, Mike, if you're still there. Wisco Dad, I see you there. Hi, Dave. Dave is one of our lenders. He's awesome. So he's been with us when we were doing these on Facebook Live and Zoom, and has answered a lot of questions about all the financing stuff that we had. So thanks for watching us, Dave.
Thank you.
But yeah, we can share. We'll share this on the Husky Homes IGTV page. So if you go to the Husky Homes profile and look down there, we'll be down there. So this is a resource that will be out there for you guys. And feel free to DM the Husky Homes page with any other questions you have about selling or buying. There's definitely a lot of areas that we could explore, and I know that one of the topics that we could have talked about too was looking at average days on market of the home that you're selling compared to buying, and how that can help you figure out your timeline of, the house, if the house you want to buy is going to be a more competitive situation than the house that you're selling. So many more topics that we can talk about, but we thought that a half an hour was a good amount of time to watch us blabber on about real estate. But I'm sure we'll be back and we'll chat about more things later.